Welcome back to the Life with Old Dogs podcast. I am here with a good friend of mine, Andrea Romeo. Andrea is she's a fellow animal rescuer. To call her a dog rescuer really limits all that she actually does because, I mean, this lady, she's actually rescued a duck from me and
Oh,
taken
oh,
it back to her home. So she rescues everything with feathers and fins and tails and all kinds of good stuff. And she is just such an amazing person, all that she does. And just recently, she decided to go ahead and become an official 501(c)(3) nonprofit organization. And her newly founded organization is called I'll Hold You Till Forever. Andrea, I'm so happy to finally have you on this podcast. Really, I am. Thank you for being here.
thank you for asking me.
Absolutely. So, Andrea, can you tell us first a little bit about yourself and how it is that you came into animal rescue? There's usually a story, like a particular dog or cat or something draws us. How did you get involved with animal rescue and how long have you been doing it for?
Okay, so I think it goes back to um, me breaking free from being a child and being on my own. As a kid, I was never allowed to have any animals. Had a fish. I was allowed to have a fish. When I started my first job, which was teaching, believe it or not, there was a guinea pig in school and very pregnant. And I was so scared that it was going to give birth by itself. So I took it home. I snuck it home. Put it in my closet because I was still living with my mother. And the rule was no animals in the house. And this poor little guinea pig just squealed all night. And then two little tiny babies popped out. And I fell in love with them, brought them back to school, and just started saying, guys, I think that we should limit all these guinea pigs being born. I mean, they're just, in the pre-K classes, they have them all in tanks. And next thing you know, there's like two, and then there's eight, and then there's like 50. So I started separating back then the animals so they stopped breeding all over the place. And then I believe my first, very first rescue was two bunnies. It wasn't even a dog, believe it or not. It was two bunnies. The school that I worked in had an environmental center next door. And sure enough, after Easter, someone dumped their bunnies that they bought for their children, cute little bunnies at Easter, and then dumped them. So no matter what path I crossed on, there's always an animal somewhere for me to find. So I think I was going to lunch and I'm walking and I see these two rabbits like laying in the grass, and there's a goose there that's attacking this poor bunny. So I just picked them up, put them in my car, took them to my vet, and those were my first two rescues, Lucky and Butterscotch. Uh, and then I moved out and wound up rescuing bunnies. At one point, I had 15. And then my first rescue dog was my soul dog, my soulmate dog. I love him to death. He was Cooley. And that started it. Just started it. He was broken beyond belief. And I just said, no way. I have to do this. So that's really basically how I got into it. I guess, you know, I just always knew I wanted to do something with animals. Just didn't know what, and I think I was scared to be a vet. So as soon as I came across my first rescue, it was all over from that point on.
And, I'm listening to your story and I have a lot of similar parallels as you, where there was always some animal, and it's interesting because I think for most animal rescuers, uh, there's not a push to be there; it's a pull. It like pulls you in. You don't even know why.
Yep.
It's like it's just sucking you in. And you're like, okay, I guess this is my life now. And I'm sure I know you have. I know you've got to the same point as me because we talk often that you're just like, I can't do this anymore. I'm just so taxed. I'm so stressed. I don't know where the money's coming from. And then you see that next animal that needs help and you're like, "Oh, all that just seems to be stuff that you just needed to vent about and blow off, but you're still there and you're still in the trenches, as I like to call it, helping animals in need, which there is no shortage of at all, as you and I both know. It is incredible, isn't it?
It is absolutely insane. And when I lived in Brooklyn, I did have a dog walking business. And the worst part is that these people aren't prepared for what they're taking on. And you almost want to say to them, okay, so you have 3 kids, you're pregnant. Why do you need a dog? Because you just know in 3 years from that point on, the dog is going to need a new home. And I've experienced that a lot. And that's at one point how I wound up with 12 of my own dogs. I was like the biggest, I guess, foster failure. Um, and it's just so sad. And I even had a dog that they were moving and they didn't really want to take it on the car ride because he was old and they were scared that he was going to die. And Vix, a pug that lived with me for 2.5 years. It's like I come out. It used to be one of my clients. I used to dog walk him all the time, and I come out crying, and I'm holding him. And my husband now, who was my boyfriend at the time, said, "Oh God, are we taking him home?" Because that's just how it happens. I come in crying, sniffling, holding something, and it just winds up to live with me, forever. And that's the only thing that I proud myself of is throughout all the changes in my life. And it was even through my first marriage, being divorced. I had a 5-bedroom house going into a studio with 3 parrots, seven. I think at that time I had 7 rabbits, um, 3 dogs, and I was squished in a studio apartment. And I said, I will wait till I find the proper housing for us because no one is leaving me. And it's hard to do, but I'm very, you know, um, strong-willed when it comes to that. So
You
yeah, so I guess at one point in your life, I think when I was younger, back in Brooklyn, it was more of a collecting thing because I really didn't want these animals to wind up in shelters. And, they just followed me wherever I went. And I just found this one, found this one. But I mean, even hamsters, I don't even know, how does a person find a hamster? People leave them over my gate. I'm like waking up. I'm like, what is that grate out there? And there's hamsters
Oh,
in there.
that's
But
terrible, actually.
yeah, and it was in a snowstorm too. But
Oh,
I take care of them, and I always worked, and I always made sure that I had special funds for them. But as you get older, and as everything goes on, things get harder as people just continually drop things at your gate. Dogs that are left here for a year already. Um, Chickens at my gate, ducks at my gate, rabbits at my gate. Phone calls, but you do the do if you can.
right. And what you just said, if you can, is so paramount, which I think the general public doesn't seem to understand. I mean, I am so grateful that you started your nonprofit organization this year because I know of 4 last year that shut down nonprofit organizations due to lack of funding, lack of space, lack of volunteers. All that stuff is at an all-time high right now. And I'll tell you, I personally have been doing dog rescue since 2005, and I can't think of a time when so many dogs have been dumped. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've like in the last literally since after Christmas, I feel like I'm almost traumatized going into the Woody's Place email or social media accounts and the inboxes and stuff. I am feeling completely just traumatized with all the sad stories and sad faces and all these dogs that need placement, and there's simply not enough there's not enough placement, there's not enough funds, there's not enough people stepping up, but there sure is a shit show of people stepping up to just dump. I mean, you and I, we live in a very rural area. For those of you who don't know, Andrea is only a couple miles away from me. Here in Pike County, Pennsylvania. We live in a very rural area, and there's no shortage of people dumping dogs, cats, just like Andrea said, any animals. Like, just give them the boot, away they go. They'll make out them, for themselves out in the country. And that's not the case at all. At
You know,
all.
it's so sad. I was not really ever a social media lover. I used to be on Facebook when it, first popped up. I don't even know how old I was. And then I started getting depressed, just like you said, seeing all this with animals and being dumped and at that time beating animals and all this stuff. And I was off Facebook for quite some time, and I discovered Instagram. And I love Instagram because you could just pick the little beautiful pictures and happy little pictures that you want to see.
Yeah,
And
perfectly curated.
yeah, right. They're like it's so cheery. And last year in February, I started fostering for a foundation in Staten Island who gets a lot of rescues from Texas. And, I had a dog here for a while. And my mother kept saying, we don't know Instagram. We only know Facebook. So I said, you know what, let me just go back on Facebook. And reluctantly, I did. I went on it. But I did find two adoptions, through Facebook. And they, one was a family member. But still, like, I go on it and I like cringe. I'm like, I mean, first of all, I didn't even remember how to use it. So I changed my logo and picture, and I'm signing into a different account 1,000 times. By the end of last week, and what am I only on it for a week? I had 3 messages in my inbox about cats and 2 dogs. And it's like, and this is the first time I'm public. So I'm like, how did they even find me? Like, where did it come from? But it's so sad. And I started off small now, and I'll only take in what I can. I'm not going to be overloaded. I already helped somebody on the outside with the dog emergency. But like you said, there's no one else to help. And I started the 501c3 because I need help, because people say, oh, I'll help you. And then they drop off the dog, they drop off, cats, 2 cats that they actually came from Long Island and dropped them off in Pennsylvania. And, oh, I'll send you food and I'll send you all this. And then, yeah, you get 1 bag of food if you're lucky, and they never turn around again. Right. And, I have my own animals that I took on myself, and 2 of them are 15 and a half years old. And, as medical bills come up, you have to take care of your own first. And you can't be a collector of animals, because right now I have 2 senior girls, and just how I take my dogs for a senior test, blood panel, and, a checkup, they have to go. I'm not just collecting them and letting them stay here. They need to get the same exact attention as if they were my own. And it's hard. It's hard to do these days when you have so many and you have a lot going on. But so that's really why I did it. But yes, I turn on Facebook and I could cry even just thinking about it, because I just don't understand. And I don't understand the group, the rehoming, and the rehoming for $200. And I'm like, you're rehoming a dog, it's not even a year old. Like, what are you doing? But
Well,
it's
they didn't think.
yeah.
They didn't think is really what it is. There are legitimate reasons why dogs have to be rehomed. Maybe they're the only owner they ever knew, like Lily that I have here. Her owner passed away. I'm pretty certain this woman thought someone in her family was going to take the dog, and then when she was deceased, they're like, boop, off to the
Yeah.
shelter she goes, which is really sad. So, that's what, in my opinion, that's what rescue is for. It is not for people who just want, they're just irresponsible. They just don't care. They took this dog, maybe spur of the moment, didn't really think about the commitment. Um, had no intention on properly caring for the dog, just leave it sit out in the yard come hell or high water or whatever. It was not meant to be um a place, and shelters too, like Griffin Pond and Pike County Humane Society
Mhm.
and Destin Animal Shelter. These are not dumping grounds for dogs and or other animals, cats and other animals. These are places for animals who had, through no fault of their own, have no other recourse. The person tried their best. The person passed away. The person got into a car accident. Now they're completely disabled. That's what these places and rescues are for. But in today's day and age, and I believe it's because we've become such a throwaway society. Really, we're a throwaway
Mhm.
society. Oh, you don't like
Mhm.
it? Who cares? Just throw it away. Who cares? We don't even think about where it goes. And unfortunately, our um, animals have fallen into that category. It's like throwing out an old sock with a hole in it. And I am just disgusted. I am disgusted at this point, and anyone in rescue that I talk with feels the exact same way. And when I was talking about the 4 rescues that closed down last year, I talked with 2 of the women who founded, these organizations, and they were both saying the same thing. Like, I mentally can't do it anymore. And it was almost like they were just like had PTSD and they were traumatized. And I don't know about you, but I feel that way. Like I'm starting to feel that way. And when you get people that get, and I know you've had this, you get people that get angry at you because you don't get back to them quick enough about their dog that they want to surrender or whatever. It's like, oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I only have like 15 other emails, a job, and my own life to live and my own animals to take care of. Sorry I didn't get back to you right away.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Oh,
It is going to be a long ride.
it's worth
And
it. It is worth it.
I feel, oh, of course it's worth it. It is worth it, and it has its ups and downs. And emotionally, it's, I wanted to start pulling, some of the hospice dogs, cats from the shelter because I just cannot believe that after having a dog for so long and just dumping a 15-year-old at the shelter because you just don't want to take care of it anymore. That's where I have my soft spot.
Mhm.
Um, and it doesn't always happen that way, but I do have, a senior here, and having her a year, I can already see a difference in her body, and just the way she is. She's like my little old lady, and you know, it's hard, and it's going to be hard, and um, but I have no choice because I feel like everyone else is backing down. And it's like, you know what? Put your big girl panties on, Andrea. Let's go. Do it. Like, what are you gonna do? And it's funny because I would have done it a long time ago. And I didn't think I had a support system, which, I know I had you. Um, and I know I had a couple other people around, but when it comes to the end of the night or the end of the week or the end of the month, you can't depend on anyone but yourself. And I know that I'm not giving up on this. Even if I take one dog, one cat, even if I help one, I'm not going to let it shut me down. And it's going to be hard. I cry all the time. All I do is cry. But you know what? If I'm crying anyway, what's a couple extra tears?
New session like that. Like,
What's a
yeah,
couple extra tears?
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
And it's important to practice self-care. Like, that time that not too long ago where you and I, it's very hard, I know for you and for me, to get away. I mean, I have the sanctuary, your place is a sanctuary. I don't know if you're calling I'll hold you till forever a rescue or a sanctuary, but you truly are a sanctuary.
Yeah, it's a sanctuary. It's not a rescue. It's a
Okay. You
sanctuary.
truly are. So for people who don't understand, it is incredibly hard to just walk out the door even if you're gone for like 2, 3 hours without worrying about what's happening back at the sanctuary. So Andrew and I try to sneak away every once in a while, even if it's just to go get coffee or something and meet up, and we're both just like,
I
and then
it
that's it, we
yeah.
go back to
It's just at the point where I don't even think I go grocery food shopping anymore. I'm like, oh my God, they offer that service. I could just order everything and they bring it right to my car. Yeah,
yeah.
I do have a lot of seniors in my house, my own plus,
Mhm.
two. And I also have a foster program here with some dogs that I foster for Near and Far Animal Foundation in Staten Island. And Robin's Rescue Ranch in Texas. So you do cringe when you leave the house, and you cringe when you're coming in, because all you're doing on the way home in the first 2 minutes of entering your house is saying, who am I going to take care of first? Okay, this one has a diaper on. Okay, this one's in this one. This one will throw up in the cage if they know that you're home too long, you don't let them out. But it's I laugh coming in. My husband just sits in the driveway and he goes, let me know when I can come in, because it's like crazy every time I walk through the door. But
Well, I have a little secret about that because you know how it is here. I mean, Andrea is actually the one that takes care of all the Woody's Place animals, even my own chickens, goats, and ducks when I'm away on vacation. So you know you get bum rushed when you walk through my door. I have to be honest with you. Sometimes if I'm out and I have to pee real bad, I'll stop at Dutch's down the road and use their bathroom first.
girl, you ain't kidding. And I was never one for public bathrooms until I know I have to enter the house and take care of everybody first. Yes, I know that feeling 100%.
It's like you just need a second to go to the bathroom. But so, Andrea, what is it that you love about what you're doing?
I just love that at the end of the day, I know that I'm taking care of the animals that were left here. Um, the animals that were left here were a little beyond my control. A favor here, a favor there, and they just stayed. No, as long with the three cats that, oh, can you hold this one? And can you take these? And then nobody ever finds homes for them. But I love it because I know I'm putting my 100% into it. And it makes me feel good that, like I said, even if I could help one, and one didn't wind up in a shelter, because I look at those shelters and it's just like, I mean, they're doing an amazing job. You know,
They're
they
doing the best they
always
can.
they always get a bad rap, and for what reason? It's funny because the last person that I ran into that said something about the shelter, I said, so let me ask you a question. When was the last time you were there? Oh, I was never there. I'm like, so shut up. Like, how could you even comment on a place that you were never to before, and you have no idea what they're doing? And you know what? Like you said before, these other two organizations that did close that you know of, to find help is hard. It's very hard. I am a
Especially in
stubborn
a
person.
rural area.
Yeah, I'm very stubborn person, and I don't trust a lot of people, not for any reason, but if I want it done the way I need to have it done, I need to do it myself. So surgeries are out of the question. I'm like, I'm not sick, I'm not going for knee surgery. I know it will never be done. I know that I can count on certain people. I do know that. I do know if I ever called you in a pinch that you'd be here and you'd have no problem and you'd figure it out,
I would.
because you run things the same way I do. But you know, the people who are in it are trying their hardest. They really are. And it's sad that they don't get that recognition. So I don't even, my mother like wrote something on Facebook. I'm so proud of my daughter. And I'm like, what are you proud at? Like, I've always done it. Like, maybe because I took a jump in and now I can be criticized by people. And go ahead, criticize me all you like. I don't care. I know
Definitely
what I
have to
do.
have tough skin.
Yeah, I know what I do, and that's what I love about it, is I do it without anyone telling me how to do it. Um, I'm doing it my way, and they're here, and they'll be taken care of until they're not here anymore.
Mhm.
And that's
And
the
then there'll
whole
be
point.
others.
Yeah, I'll hold you till forever. I'll hold you till you become a star in the sky. And you know what?
That's
I just
beautiful.
feel like they don't even have to worry about their past life. And I'll do anything I can for them. So
And you do. So what population you have so many different animals there, just like I do. And I know if someone puts a rabbit over your fence, you're going to take it. But when it comes to I'll hold you to forever, is there a certain population that you are primarily focusing on, or is it all encompassing?
well, I like I said before, I really wanted to target the seniors
Mhm.
because I'm very lucky that I am home all the time. I have home-based business, which is great. And I'm here. And with seniors, anything can pop up at any moment in time. Any moment in
Usually at 2 a.m. on a Sunday
time.
night with a foot of snow on the ground. But yeah.
100% been there, done that 1,000 times. Still
Oh
doing
my
it.
God, we both have Jeeps, people. It's like,
Doing it. I I really do want to target the abandoned and the forgotten about and the ones who just aren't loved the way they should be. Um, with my fostering, I do take in a lot of the animals from Texas. They're strays. They're all street dogs, and they've all been or dumped and starved. And I mean, the stories that of the last few dogs that I've had here were just like, how do you say no? And I fell in love with the fostering, and I didn't think that I was going to be able to do it because I couldn't. And I have to tell you, I'm very picky on who they go to. I mean, if someone leaves you, I'm like, they're not getting that dog. Like,
yeah, you have to be.
have to trust your gut, and I don't care if they're here for longer. The rescue that I work with, both of them, at any time, if I ever need anything, I call them. They send it right to the house. If I ever need advice, I call them. They're there. So that part of it is taken care of. I do want to rescue the seniors. I do not want to overload. I'm not a dumping ground for my dog is 15 and peeing in the house, and I don't want it anymore. And
Which
I actually did,
happens,
I
folks.
actually didn't start this. Kaya and Luna started this. Those are the two senior dogs that I have outside. And also, my beagle. When I found my beagle over 15 years ago, she found me. And somebody just didn't want her anymore. And I said, I gotcha. I found her a home. She ran away. I found her again. And I said, that's it. You with me forever. So it found me. I don't think I started anything. I think they started it for me. I just had no choice.
Yes. I just want to clarify when Andrea says the two that are outside, I don't want people picturing, oh gosh, they're just outside. Andrea has an awesome facility there where she is, that she has these fantastic buildings that she had brought in that her husband modified. And they're like these little apartments. They're absolutely fantastic. All the comforts they want are there, and Andrea is with them frequently throughout the day. I mean, this woman here, it's like the Energizer Bunny has nothing on her. She is just constantly rotating around her property, which is large, and she's just constantly rotating. So everyone is totally cared for on your property. You have such a great setup over there. And you really are such a blessing to many. Honestly, I said in the beginning, whether they have feathers and webbed feet or whether, they have fur and four paws, you are just an absolute blessing to many. And I wish you the best of luck with I'll hold you forever. But I agree with you. This is, I think for many people who get into rescue. So for instance, you were a teacher. I was a substance abuse counselor. We're both educated women. And here we are making a lot less, if anything, than we could possibly be
Make it.
making if we were still teachers and substance abuse counselors. But here we are on any given day with shit all over the bottom of our shoes, right? Cleaning dog throw up, whatever. But yet
Everywhere.
yep, we love it and couldn't think of doing anything else. I mean, it is true. We are both serving the population that we want to serve, regardless of our educational backgrounds. And if I didn't have a dollar in my pocket, I am still just I feel so fulfilled every day
Hmm.
just being able to help them because, whether they're 2 or 15, but I think the older they get, the more this is true, they really are grateful. Don't you think? I just
Oh,
are really, really grateful.
so grateful. I say it all the time. I say, how did they get rid of this dog? Like
Yeah.
my dogs are so unruly, all over the place. I said, these dogs just appreciate every minute you spend with them, every pet they get. If you give them a bone, they're just, and you could just see it in their eyes. Like you could just tell. I mean, even my husband's out there right now building a new chicken coop because the old one was just for my chickens and ducks, and we got a few extra, over the years. Um, but even the ducks, I have two ducks that someone bought for Easter, probably a couple of years ago, from Tractor Supply. They never sold them the right food. The ducks are disabled,
Oh,
and
no.
three days out of the week in the winter, I go outside, I get the ducks, and my husband's bathtub has a duck in it. My bathtub has a duck in it. And then we're blow drying them because it's like freezing outside. And then
Yeah.
we're putting them outside. And my husband just said to me today, "Oh my God, we have those ducks for 3 years." I'm like, "Yeah, we do." Like someone just dumped them off because they're not walking properly, at Tractor Supply. And I get the phone call. And I'm
Yeah.
not going to say no because I never know if I say no where they're going to wind up. If I had a plan for them, that's a different story. And by the way, Kaya and Luna, the two dogs that are here, I would never deprive them of a home. If someone saw Kaya or Luna on the posts and were interested in adopting them, and I love them, and I really, really, really love them, and thought that they would really qualify for being good adopters, I would never deny them of that.
Mhm.
But and it is a nice thought because it would make room for somebody else. But sometimes you just know in your heart that it's not going to happen. And I have to take care of them till, like I said, I'm not collecting animals. I can't help when people throw animals over my fence, my gates, or I find them in the driveway, or eight, roosters killing each other in dog crates in the end of my driveway. Um, which don't do anybody. But
Well, yeah, that's pretty
please don't
crappy.
do. And I won't say no. I actually, no is one of my favorite words, but not in the animal world.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. Um, so Andrea, you you deal with older dogs, you deal with all kinds of animals just like me. Um, how do you handle how do you handle the aspect of saying goodbye? I mean, you've been there a lot, just like me. It's not
Yes,
easy, is it?
no, not good at all. At all. um I just have to keep reminding myself that there's really nothing I could do about it. I mean, and trust me, the doctor tells me I do it. If he tells me this is what you're doing, this is what I'm doing. um Last year was a rough year for me. I lost a lot of my own. Um, but I'm starting to say to myself, and maybe it's because of the foster program that I'm doing, I see the horrible situations that these puppies are born into,
Yeah.
and eating off the streets, and just horrible, and being abused, and I mean, to one point I even had a mama here with her three puppies, and a few of her other puppies were killed, you know, by human hands, and as a game. And I just say to myself, you know what? Wow, my guys really had a long life. and they were
Yeah.
loved from day one. How
Right. A
many
great life.
how many animals aren't loved from day one?
Hmm.
But it's hard. Like I said, I cry every day anyway. But when I look at the older girls outside, and my husband goes, oh my God, don't say she's sick, don't go to the vet. I'm like, I have to do the do. And um I have to be that last person that they see, and I'll just tell them I loved you and you mattered, and I tried everything,
Right.
and maybe if I didn't find you, you would be experiencing becoming a star 2 years ago. But I gave you my love, and I hope you enjoyed it. And it's hard. It's very hard. But I got to deal with it. What am I going to do? You
Well,
know?
it is part of rescue. It really is. And I have shared this with you before, because I've been a mess, like, to the point where I can't even talk sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to talk to anybody for a few days. I really just kind of turn inward and to the other animals to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And then we collectively move on together, because they grieve too. They grieve too when one of the pack members, if you will, passes. They
Mm-hmm.
are fully aware of it.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and then and then I think it's the same for you, or from what I've seen anyway. You kind of just pick yourself up by your bootstraps, and through tear-stained eyes, you're just kind of trudging along, and then you see that next one, and you're like, okay, here's another one I can help. But it is a very, very emotional journey, with a lot of highs and a lot of lows. And I want anyone who is either thinking about getting involved in rescue, wondering what rescuers actually go through, to know that this is not a 9 to 5 thing, that you
No.
punch in and punch out. You are wearing your heart on your sleeve, that's covering probably a bunch of scars all over from
Mm-hmm.
scratches and bites and stuff like that. I mean, it is truly a labor of love. I don't know one rescuer, animal rescuer, dog, cat, guinea pig, whatever, that doesn't walk around in clothes that they probably just threw on that day, hair that they probably just threw up that morning, maybe even to forgetting to brush your teeth, because from the minute you get up, it's go. That's
Yep.
it. It's go. But you still have to make time for yourself. I mean, I say that all the time, because if you don't, you burn out. You burn out, and
Yeah.
you're not doing anybody any good. You have to
Yeah.
take care of yourself.
Yeah, I guess. I always,
No.
I
Yeah.
always say, you know what? You have to take care of yourself. It's just like that airplane thing. Like, oh, if those oxygen masks come down, the first thing you think of is to put it on the child. And they tell you, no, you need to put it on yourself first. And the first time I heard that, I said, what the heck is she talking? But you know what? You realize you can't help anyone unless you're okay to do it. And you know, I I am a lot like you. I do shut down when something happens. Um, I've had a lot of sick animals. And like I said, last year I lost four. And I have a 14-year-old Jack Russell who witnessed Beagle passing because it was very sudden, who witnessed my other dog having a seizure and I couldn't bring him back. And then he saw my 24-year-old parrot who passed. He saw his cage going out, and this poor dog was so depressed. And here I am crying, 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 and I'm realizing they're watching me cry. I can't cry in front of them. So now, I now instead of all these noses popping in the shower curtain door, I actually close the door. And that's the time for me. That's the
Yeah.
time for me to cry, to get it out, and then you just get out of the shower, you wipe your face, and you're like, okay, show's back on. Like, and you have to do it. And even my husband, I'm like, sometimes I wait for him. I'm like, oh, is he going out this weekend? And he leaves, and I'm just on the couch, bawling and crying and getting it all out because you try so hard to keep it in for everybody, which
Yeah.
is not healthy. And you know
Right.
what? You gotta let it go sometimes. And if you don't, that's when you're gonna wind up with a problem. You know.
Exactly. Yeah. I've actually been there. And you have too. I know you have too, like with your knee. So that's why I'm saying, it's definitely important to take care of yourself. And also it's important to promote rescue to the younger generation, because I don't know about you, and I've talked to other people about this. I just don't see a younger generation stepping up to help out and get involved and volunteer. Not many, anyway. I mean, we are getting older. We're getting older, and one of the rescues that shut down last year was simply because of that, because her husband passed away. She's older. She has health issues, and it just killed her, and so she shares dogs now on social media, but it just killed her to actually shut down and say, I physically can't do this anymore. And I felt that. I felt that for her. I was like, oh my gosh, like I mean, I'm gonna be the same way someday, like I just hope someone's around to pick up the baton and carry on after that.
I know. I get nervous about that too. I do get nervous. Um, I would I would love to say that maybe the school can do some sort of program or something. Um, and one of the reasons why I really fell in love with the fostering is because I'm getting older and I get nervous on, oh my God, what if something happens to me? What's going to happen to my animals? You know, my animals are tricky. They're tricky. I have one reactive dog. I have two 15-and-a-half-year-olds, a 14-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 10-year-old who is, attached to my hip. And you know, I I I have friends who I say, you're going to take my animals if God forbid something happens to me, right? And this, of course, of course. And I have that in place. But I said to my husband, the other day, he goes, oh, maybe we might want to get another puppy for my youngest one. And I said, I'm done with my own animals. I said, I think fostering is great because you don't have them forever. If you're working with the right rescue who are promoting these dogs, um, there's a great turnout. I think that's good. And that, for me, was the turning point for me to foster and say, okay, I'm not keeping this dog because trust me, out of a lot that were here, I wanted to be like, oh my God, you're my next dog. I'm not doing that anymore. So we do have to get some sort of word out there to the younger generation. That's going to be so hard because I think in all, it's about commitment and, making a promise
Mhm.
to these dogs, to yourself, um, and also knowing when you can't do it. I know right now I can't take any more of my own animals, not for any other reason, but because if God forbid something happened to me, the girls that helped me to open the sanctuary will be here in a heartbeat, and they will take over. It is scary. It's a very scary thought. My husband had hand surgery 2-3 weeks ago, and all he's worried about is putting up the fence for the dogs, putting up a new, chicken pen, and I have to get this done, and I have to get this run secured. And he comes in and he's like, wow, I'm beat up. I'm like, yeah, we can't do it like we used to do it anymore, you know? But in life,
Yeah,
there always has
I
to
do
be a
know.
plan B. Yeah. In life, there always has to be a plan B. And I'm very, very big on that. And even with the dogs that I watch and the people who I watch dogs for, I always tell them, do you have a plan B in case if God forbid, something were to happen to you? Where are these dogs going? Who's coming into your home to take care of these dogs when I'm finished watching them? Does anybody else have my phone number? Or, switch around. Something could happen to me. And,
Mhm.
that's why I'm always in full contact if I do a lot of pet sitting around. One client's like, oh, just leave my key in the house and lock it. And I said, I will not do that because if God forbid something happens to you, now this animal is trapped in your house and I can't get in. So, you know what? You could wait till tomorrow to collect your key. And you know what, Dawn? A lot of it, I have no filter. So I'm kind of like, if you don't like the way I run things, then go somewhere else, or,
And
you know,
I love that about you. I have said this before,
you
and
don't
we
have
have
to
a
come
friend.
here.
We have a friend in common who says the exact same thing. I love that about you, because you always know where you stand with you, and I love that. And you have a heart of gold and such fantastic intentions as well. So if someone can't put up with a heavy dose of the truth in their face, then that's their problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then
No,
that's their problem.
100%.
If you ran for president tomorrow, I would vote for you. I'd run your campaign.
That will never ever happen. Oh
So
gosh.
Andrea, if somebody, now that you're running official organization, and you've been running an organization for so long, it just hasn't been a 501(c)(3), which opens you up to grants and other things like that, which is why I was trying to like kind of talk to you about that, so you can qualify for things like this, and have better resources, instead of doing like what most of us do and constantly reaching into our own
Hmm.
empty pockets.
Hmm.
Um, if someone was to come up to you and say, one of these people from the younger generation, and say, "Hey, I love what you're doing. I want to do exactly what you're doing." You've probably had people ask you this already. I know I get it all the time from Woody's place. What would you say to them? What would some of the key points be that you would say to them?
Let's
Especially
go.
because you're so
Hands on.
honest.
Total hands on. Let's go. You want to see what it's about? You're going to see what it's about. You know, uh, the big part of it is nobody these days want to takes the responsibility for doing the do. Everybody wants, I want, but no one actually does the do. I actually have a mom who wants her daughter to come and experience taking care of the animals, because she thinks that her daughter doesn't have enough responsibility. She says she wants this, she wants this, she wants this. She's too young. I'm not getting. I said, don't get her an animal. Let her let her come. Let her be in charge of the ducks and the chickens for I give her a weekend. But you have to be in it to understand how long this is going to be, the journey it's going to be, and you have to do it. You have to. If someone was to say, how did how do I start it up? How do I do it? You know what? Come here on the weekends. Come to doctor's appointments with me, because that's what it's about. It's about dropping things in a second, because your whole world will change in a half of a second. Um, especially with what I'm doing. I probably would think to push the fostering, um, because the fostering opened up my eyes to a lot of things. Um, and like I said, listen, I was guilty of it too. I just rescued everything and anything when I was, on my own, and in Brooklyn, and I had my own house, and there were, 14 rabbits in one bedroom, and they were all litter box trains. And I did the collecting too. I did. I'm not going to say I didn't. I'm happy I did. But I also always knew that they needed to be taken care of the right way. So even if I had an extra job, I put it on the side and say, this is dog money, God forbid, in case, this is dog money. And that's another thing that I think surprises a lot of people. And I see it a lot now. The dog is like 12 years old, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, can you believe that this vet wants this much money for this visit or this? And I was surprised myself, because, when I was back in Brooklyn, my friend was a vet, and she spoiled me rotten, and she told me, bring them all in and let's do them all at once. And, their shots, and I dealt with, my dog's having cancer and going through all of the chemo, and you know, taking out a credit card and it only being for the dogs. There's a lot more than just taking care of the dogs, the cats. Just recently, a cat that someone had dropped off to me because it didn't come out of anesthesia and they never found a home for it. 4 years later, the cat just had to have $6,000 surgery. right before Christmas. And I'm like, okay. And my husband goes, well, what are we going to do? And I did contact the place that did alter the cat and send it to me. And they said, oh, we can't help you. And I said, oh, okay. And I said, all right. So I opened up, a credit card at a local bank that was, zero interest for how many months. And I opened up a hair credit and the cat got surgery and I got the bills.
Oh,
But,
geez.
that's something else that I have to, remind myself to have people understand that it's more than just, you know, taking care of the animal in a bag of food or, flea and tick for the month. It's more of an expense than you would think, especially as they get older. But as with the fostering, I love the fact that it helps everybody out. It does keep animals out of shelters. There is a strong network if you're in the right one to find that animal a home. And things are taken care of. So maybe that might be a first step for them is to foster and see how they like it. And then when they know that they're ready to commit their life to the 24/7, then that's when you jump in. But
Yeah.
until then, no. My favorite word, can you come here? No. Can you do this? No. Can you? No, 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 no. So,
Well,
but you
well,
have
that
to
is
be
a big
prepared.
thing right there. Yeah, what you're that's great advice. Foster first for another rescue and see if you can actually stand the heat of even fostering and then take the next step if you truly are interested in opening your own rescue and you will know
You
that
will.
not even saying that the rescue you're with is a bad rescue. You just want more. You just want more and you have different ideas and then you decide you're going to start your own rescue. And the other aspect that I'm hearing you say is learn to say no. And you know what? That is not a bad thing. You have to learn to say no. And that is something else I say all the
Mhm.
time to other fellow rescuers that I talk with that I can see they don't know how to say no. And that's one of the most painful things sometimes that you just have to say no because you committed to the animals in your care already and someone might be like, well, what's one more? Well, that is one more expense. That's more time that I have to direct
Mhm.
toward that animal that I'm now robbing the other ones of that I had already committed to. So, as tough it is, and you know what? I don't know anybody who starts out in rescue being good at learning to say no. That's something I think that comes in time, but
Of
it
course.
typically does.
Of course.
Typically does.
And I also feel that, the rescues and the sanctuaries that I deal with are amazing. And, when I open this up, I promised the foundation that I foster for, I will always foster for you because I'm not going to be that sanctuary that takes everything on. I want the dogs that are here to get the attention they need. um and I also think that I need to continue having all these open networks for myself because it puts things in perspective for me. you know um you can't get carried away, and I know it's easy to do because everything tugs at your heartstrings. But and you know what, we could all help each other out, and that's something I'm looking at because I see you know people wanting to point fingers and saying they're not doing it right, and I'm like, guys, you know what, if we all did it together,
Mhm.
it might actually help us out. And it's hard, but you know what, I'll get through it, I'll do it. You just have to
And
say
you'll
I'll do
and you'll do a great job. You'll do a great job, and I agree with you about it. It's not a competition, and I hear what you're saying with there are rescues out there that it's like a competition and they're cutthroat and they're cutting down, you know, people who should be in it with them together, working together as one network. Um, I have seen that as well over the course of the decades doing animal rescue, but I have to say, more often than not, if I reach out to fellow rescues, somebody's there willing to help.
Mhm.
Somebody's there. If I have a dog that, like right now, I'm trying to find this home for this 5-year-old German Shepherd, and I reached out to you and others who are full, but they're like, wait a second, I might have an adopter. Send the information over. And I do. And that's to me is gold right there. I agree with you. We have to work together. We have to share our resources and we have to work together and it is not a competition.
Not a
It's not a competition and if you view it as a competition, you're really doing the animals you serve a disservice.
100%,
Yeah,
100%. It's not about you. And
right.
that would be
Not
my
an ego
other
thing.
bit of information to the person who wants to start this. This is absolutely not about you at all. This is about them. You just do it. You know,
Yeah.
it's all about them. It's not a glorified position. I wouldn't say if you ever
Look
saw me
look
at the
hot
end of the
dress. Of course
day,
it's not.
what I look like. I'm like, sometimes
I actually took my hair out of a ponytail and brushed it today just for this occasion.
I can't even begin to tell you. Sometimes like it's like, I'll come back from a vet visit and I get to the vet and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I mean, I'll have vomit on me, you know,
Yeah.
other
Oh,
stuff all over me. And I get home and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't change my shirt. It's like 3 hours that I'm home, but you don't come in and you don't sit back and relax and put your feet up and put a TV on. You're doing. It's not about
right.
you. It's about you taking these animals, and that's your life from morning till night, 7 days a week.
Exactly.
Holidays below,
Right.
holidays below, and so if you're willing to do it, then you do it. If you're the person that wants to go on vacation 4 times a year, no, you're not doing it because you know what? Unless you find somebody that has your back. I mean, I know that if God forbid I needed
That's my
to,
back.
if I needed to do something and I needed to leave, my family's still in Brooklyn. If I needed to get to Brooklyn for an emergency, um, I know that I know where my keys are. I know that another woman knows where my keys are. You know, so you have to have that established first
Yeah.
because you know what? If you don't have somebody to say, "Oh God, go in my house, walk in there, 5 German shepherds," you're not going to get that person. You always have to have a plan B. That's just what it comes down to. For you, for the dogs, for the fellow rescuers and the fellow sanctuaries, you know, it's how it's all one circle, how it works.
It is.
But
And I am truly grateful for you. And I am truly grateful that you, again, became a 501(c)(3) nonprofit organization and can grow from there. I know you have some dogs available for adoption. So where can people find you um, on social media? I assume you're on social media. I know you are.
yes, I did not make a website, yes, and yet I'm so bad. But Instagram, um, I'll hold you till forever's on Instagram. And what I'm going to try and do, since it is a sanctuary, get all the animals a couple of posts, a week, and put them up there and show them the progress. Like I said, my husband's building a new chicken coop now because the area where we have it is not working out, with this many birds. Um, and I'm on there. I did not make my private my own public yet, but I might have to do that. But Near and Far Animal Foundation does have the girls on there, the fosters, the dogs that are up for adoption. Um, Also, Robin's Rescue Ranch has, the fosters and the girls up there too. Like I said, if I ever found somebody who needed the companionship that one of the girls would offer and they were great, I would never deny them a home ever. I mean, they get treated like gold here. Actually, platinum. I don't even know if that's they do. But you know what? Everyone deserves what they deserve. And you know, even though I'm a sanctuary, I feel like, dogs do miss their families. I see that I had my neighbor came over with her little girl, and I realized that Kaya did live with children. I don't have any children here. And she went berserk. She was so happy. And I was like, I forgot that she lived with kids. Like, I forgot that she grew up with, Kaya was with one owner for 9 years. And, you know, then she was just discarded. And it kills me. It does kill me. She lived with kids and cats and, a family and you know, I would never deprive her of that, but I'll take care of her until, until if she never finds it again, she never finds it again. She's more than happy here. But once in a while, you do get a dog that does not do well in the setting that they're in. It took Luna
True.
quite a bit to adjust. And, you know, like I said, I'm not a collector. I'm out for their interest. But, yeah.
You're primarily on Instagram for now. And are
Instagram.
you okay? Are you on TikTok or no?
I am on TikTok under my own name, but I will have to change TikTok. I'm not
Okay.
really familiar with working TikTok yet. I didn't realize that all the videos I was making to put on Instagram were on TikTok. I opened it up and there's like 99 likes. I'm like, liking? What are they liking? But I don't even know how to check a message on TikTok. I do have to learn. I'm very bad at the computer world here,
Uh,
so I'll get.
I'll tell you what. I started a TikTok for Woody's Place because a few people had insisted that I do this, and I didn't want to. I just did not want to because I just feel like our main following is on Facebook. It is. We have like 35,000 followers on Facebook and then maybe 2,000 on Instagram. And I don't even know what we have on TikTok because I don't go there very often. It's just that whole social media world, just for the sanctuary alone, can be a full time job. And quite frankly, I don't want to dump all my resources into that. I try to share as much information as I can about the residents, about caring for your older dog and whatnot, what's happening here. But I want to be with the dogs. I want to be, like you
Yes,
just said, I want to be doing. I don't want to be checking those 99 messages on, but it is a necessary evil. You have to, right? I
I
mean,
know. That's why I went back onto Facebook because, like I said, two adoptions. It did come out of Facebook when I was not happy
things do
about
come
going.
from it.
I know, but I also am. I have to also learn, Dawn, and I don't know if you experience this. I'm a very private person. I'm very private about what goes on, and I realized I can't be private about what's going on with the dogs here, and
Exactly. Yes.
that's a hard one for me. You
Well, me
know,
too, because I'm very introverted. And I've made it no secret that I have ADHD, and sometimes, like, my brain's just not working and words come out, and it's like, who the hell just said that? Like, I sound like a complete idiot, and I realize it's my ADHD, and of course, dogs never judge, so I feel totally comfortable with them. But, I've had a coach for a while, that's like, "Oh, well, you need to do more of this, and you need to do more of that." It's like, I don't wanna be in front of the camera. I mean, this podcast is enough for me. It's like I do not want to be in the cat. Some days I don't even want to brush my hair. I just want to put on my hat and I want to be with the dogs and I want to be brushing them and I want to be going to shelters to help, there, take food if I can, find out who's there so I can network for them. Like I want to be doing, like you just said.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
I have always been one of those females that never put like a whole lot into how I look physically. Like even as a little girl, further up the mountain from here, I would run around all day long in a bathing suit, going from swimming to fishing to whatever, lying to my father about did I have a bath that day? Oh, yeah, no, I did. No, I didn't. I swam in the lake where a bunch of fish crapped and called it, taking a bath. But I was always so busy doing things that I want to do, right? And Woody's Place, being with the residents is it's what matters to me because they are not going to be here forever, just like
mm-hmm.
we're not. And I want to give them everything I can possibly give them while they're here, and I don't wanna spend all that time on social media, if that makes sense.
No, 100%. I cringed when I thought about, oh my God, I have to make an I'll love you till forever page. I'm like, I just because I have my page, I have the NAFAF Foster page, which is the Fosters I do. I have my Naked Salt, my halotherapy, business going on. I have Silly Coolies, my dog walking company. I have all these pages, and I'm like, I have to make another one. I'm like, oh, and then I have to ask these people to follow me, and I'm like, oh, and then to have to make it public, I was like, I do, like,
Yeah.
I don't want to, but
Yeah.
yeah, you do. You do in
Mhm.
order to share it. And you'll see on my first Facebook page, everybody's like, you have to make this shareable. And to
Saw
hit
that.
that button, it's like, no.
I
But
saw that.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm
it does take a lot of getting used to, and, your personal life bleeds into it. Like, there's just no way you can keep things separate, and you have a different setup where you are because you have a long driveway and you have the gate at the end. Where I am here, my driveway's right off the road, and
Mhm.
I've had people just pull in my driveway, and I work from home too, in addition to Woody's place, and they'll just knock on the door and act like they know me and wanna talk, and the whole time I'm like, "I don't know you. And I didn't
No.
ask you to come here, and I'm working, and then you expect me to be nice about it." Like, it's just bizarre.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. And I mean, I'm out here quite some time now, and I've been out here for years and years when my dad lived here. But when I was in Brooklyn, I knew everybody. Everybody knew me. Everybody knew a connection. And out here, I don't know a lot of people. I know the people I need to know, and that's another thing I have to overcome. I have to start trusting people, you know, who are going to give me a recommendation out here, who are not going to give me a recommendation out here, and it could be tricky. But you know what? Like I said, if I opened, I'll hold you till forever. And I have two dogs right now, the three cats that, are incorporated in that, the rabbits, the ducks, the goose that someone dropped off here from Astoria, Queens on Christmas Eve. uh, you
Yes.
know, all, you know, everything that's just gets dropped. If I if I have it just till they're gone, I feel like I did something
Mhm.
because I'm able to. I want it to be around forever. I hope I didn't get to that point yet where I'm realizing that it's here and it's real.
Right.
And you know, you know, Kaya feels like she's part of the family already, although she loves meeting the foster dogs and the dogs that come and stay here. And I didn't prepare myself for that ending yet to take in, the new.
Mhm.
So I think once that happens, um, it will hit me a little more, you know. Like I said, I didn't open this opened me. And that's what happened. I was like, oh my God, she came to me. She's already here a year. I took her to McDonald's for her birthday, took her to Tractor Supply. She picked out a toy. And I said, okay, she's here a year. She has to go to the vet. She has to get a senior panel. She's 10. She's got these bumpies I got to look out for because, I didn't have her as a puppy. When you have your own dog, or at least you have them for a couple of years, differences in what's going on in them, you know?
Exactly, yes.
And
Mhm.
in seeing your dog that you just got, you're just looking at it and you're saying, okay, oh my God, how long was she walking like that? How long did she look like that? How long did she have this bumpy? And, you know, I could have just said, oh, well, they didn't care about it. She dropped her off here. I'm feeding her. She's getting her flea and tick. She doesn't have to go to the vet. Nothing's wrong with her. But you can't do that. That's not responsible,
Right,
you know?
right.
So
You
what I
have to go
said,
get that blood panel done, the senior blood panel, the
yeah,
CBC, the chem panel, the full
yep,
once over. So you have a marker, then you know what you're working with, and then you know where you're going from there.
yeah,
Exactly. I mean, even with cats too, which most people are like, my cat's an inside cat. It's like, yeah, they still have to go to the vet once a year, at least once a year. to find out, maybe they have a tooth that's killing them and they can't say anything to you. And, I always point that out, with the dogs and how important dental work is for them and say, how would you feel if you were walking around with an abscess and you couldn't tell anyone? Your
Mhm,
dog's now losing weight. They think, oh, it's just an old dog, it's losing weight. Well, did it ever occur to you that their teeth are bad and that's why they're not eating? And that otherwise they would be perfectly healthy and still eating. So, right. You need to go and you need to get that checkup done annually. And actually, when a dog is past 10 years old, it should really be every 6 months. They should
mhm,
go and get just a
mhm.
once over just to see if anything changes. Because as well as I do, things can change in an instant, just like in a
Ne
day or so. They could start
Yes,
to go downhill because they hide it.
100%, and that's scary because you know why? Um, like I said, I'm always responsible in saying this money is on the side for the dogs. This is people have a Christmas fund or college fund for their kids. I like have no. This is the dog money. Like that's their money.
So,
Um,
yeah.
and let me tell you something. I mean, even losing 4 animals last year, I couldn't believe how it was March, April, I think June, and then just in the end of the summer, and I couldn't even recoup myself because you don't want to drain yourself of what you have in case there's another emergency,
Right.
and I didn't want to start stressing about that. And even before, I had people saying, "Oh my God, you still have that dog there? Can I send you a bag of food?" I mean, even you called me up. You know what? I have food here. Come get it. And you don't realize that you do need that help, you know, whether it be a bag of food or, just, a donation to a little donation that will add up to have money to go for a vet visit, but you can't deny them. And, so that's how it works out. And I have to tell you, I don't know if you're too familiar with Hamlin Vet. Are you familiar with the doctor who bought that practice?
Not at all. No.
Okay, well, Dr. K is amazing. I actually really like him a lot. Um, I Carbondale, I fell in love. I call her Dr. B, Dr. Beth. Is that her name,
Beth,
Dr. Beth?
yep.
Love her, love
Yeah.
her. But of course, my dogs are always, or my cats always show signs of something going on, Saturday, Sunday, after 4 o'clock. But Dr. K did take on a heartworm positive dog that I was fostering. And he was the only vet who would make the protocol with me before she was on transport to come here because right after her doxy, she has to start her shots. And he was like, okay, we'll be here Monday morning. Well, I have to tell you, he did buy Hamlin practice. He's great. He gives you a after hours phone number in case you need him. And he also just started doing house visits.
Oh.
So instead of getting, 3 cats in a carrier, 2 dogs, and going to the vet, keeping the air conditioner on with the extra key in your hand to run one in, one out, bothering the receptionist to watch my Jeep, you know, um, that could be very good, even if it's just for them to come in and do shots.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to let you know that because that
Well,
came in
good
very
to
well.
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just good to know, who the vets are in the area, and I say that, you know, lightly. In the area for us is like 20 minutes away or 30 or 40 minutes
Longer.
away. So, it's not 5 minutes away, but that is good, definitely good to know. And thank you for sharing that. But this has been great, Andrea. I really appreciate you coming on here. There are show notes for every podcast. So I'm going to make sure your contact information is in the show notes so people can find you. And I'm going to ask you to send me links to the dogs that you have, like in an email or something, so I can include them in the show notes too. This way people can see Kaya and Luna and the other dogs that you're talking about that are looking for homes, and maybe some stars will align and that will happen. That would be
You never
fantastic.
know. The universe is going crazy today.
Yeah, exactly, right? It looks like it's getting ready to do something out there now. I noticed it's not quite as sunny.
I don't
So
know, but
we'll see what happens. But thank you so much. I really do appreciate you being on here with us.
thank you so much. You're a very big inspiration to me, and I don't know if I even tell you that enough. But I thank you, and for always taking time out to you know talk to me when we had the chance to talk, and
Well,
and giving me the opportunity to learn the Woody's Place residents. I have to come over and meet them soon. You know.
the new one, she's something else. I appreciate it. Thank you, Andrea.
All right, sweetie.